South African President Cyril Ramaphosa has met the security cluster amid reports that South Africans are among those killed in fighting for a third day around the gas hub town of Palma in northern Mozambique's Cabo Delgado province. The town is adjacent to gas projects worth about $60 billion led by several international companies, including Total. Sources have told the Fuel View that militants attacked the town at around 1600 on Wednesday, describing it as a total slaughter with bodies lying in the streets, some of them beheaded. One source described the attack as well organized, saying hundreds of militants attacked the town and compounds housing workers of international companies with heavy weapons and mortars. The province of Cabo Delgado has, over the last 3 years, seen several attacks which have escalated in the past year. The militants linked to the Islamic State seem to have had a part in some instances. They've seized the entire town. South African woman who does not want to be named told the Full View that her son was killed when he fled together with his father and brother. She says they were part of a convoy of 17 vehicles that left the town, but only 7 vehicles made it to safety. The wife of another South African working in Palma joins us now. Out of fear for his safety, she wants to remain anonymous. Her husband is currently in Pemba, a town about 240 kilometers south of Palma. Very good evening to you, and thank you so much for speaking to us. Hi, Cindy, are you able to hear us?
I am.
Okay.
I am.
So just tell us a little bit about what happened and how you heard about it.
Well, we received a call from Palma on Wednesday afternoon around about 4:15, telling us that the terrorists have infiltrated the town, and we heard the bombings and the shootings. And the cell phone reception just died. We haven't had any contact with our loved one since then.
That must have been very frightening for you. Just tell us about the circumstances in which they got there. We believe that some expats are missing as well.
Yes, there are quite a few expats missing. The terrorists entered the town. They're heavily armed. They've got bombs. They've got military weapons that the Mozambique military has not even seen yet. I know of a youngster, 21-year-old, he's missing. Choppers could not go and rescue him because they were shooting at the choppers from the ground. They tried today again. They landed in the site where they thought he would be. He's no longer there. He's still missing. Other South Africans have lost their lives in an ambush last night. It's terrible. It's a war zone, and it's just terrible. It's traumatic.
What is the latest that you know, Cindy? Just have you been able to reach anybody who's been able to feed you with information?
This afternoon we got word that the rescue operations, the evacuations had to be stopped because they were shooting at the helicopters again. The South African private security company has helicopters in the air that are protecting, the area. But these terrorists are heavily armed. So evacuations had to stop. We are hoping that they can resume sometime soon again.
And as our viewers can just see some of the visuals from Palma, if you're able to, do you have any idea of how many South Africans could have been there at the time and what their purpose there was?
There are quite a few. There's a few hundred South Africans. They are all working on the gas project with Total. So they various fields of subcontractors, civil construction, and owners of businesses.
Do we know who was able to rustle up the rescue mission, as in the convoy of vehicles? Were the people fleeing the violence using their own vehicles, or was there some sort of help coordinating the exit?
As far as we know, and word has reached us, it was not week, there was no help from any government. They were surrounded, and they decided to make a run for it because they could not be evacuated. The chopper could come nowhere close to them. So they decided to make a run for it. They got into vehicles. Whose vehicle? It's not private vehicles. We don't know which type of vehicles it were, but it's said to be there were 17 vehicles and only 7 went through the ambush.
It must be just difficult hanging on there in the absence of official information, but what are your worst fears, Cindy? As we mentioned, your husband is in Pemba. What are you just afraid to think of in terms of his fate?
Well, he's safe in Pemba, but our loved one is still missing in the war zone. As a youngster, he's got no war experience, no fighting experience. So the worst fear is, you don't know where they are. You don't know, is he safe? Is he alive? Has he been taken hostage? Because nobody has come back to us with any info of this is exactly what the story is. As of this all morning, all the media has been waking up and, reporting on the situation. The American government has come up now. The French government, I hear the French Legion is on its way. But there's, South African government, I hear our president is having meetings about this right now. But we had Saturday, for 3 days we don't know where these people, we don't even know, we don't have a head count of who's missing. Where do you find them?
Yeah.
Because these terrorists are really heavily armed.
Cindy, thank you so much for speaking to us, sending you and the other families strength through this difficult time. And we do hope that there is some good news that comes out of this as you wait. Now, South Africa is strengthening its mission in Maputo following the attacks. The Department of International Relations and Cooperation says in a statement this afternoon that it is working with local authorities on verifications as well as providing the necessary consular services. More staff will be deployed to handle the work of locating, identifying and responding to the respective needs of those affected. Now, we're joined on the line by Alain Kassa, who's with Doctors Without Borders. He's the head of mission in Mozambique. A very good evening to you, Alain. Thank you so much for speaking to us.
Good evening.
So just tell us what your organization has learned, experienced, especially amid these attacks.
We are working there since 2 years, but this last year was very difficult because due to a lot of attacks, a lot of people moved from their place of origin to different place in the south of the province of Capo del Gado. And at the end of the year, we reach more or less at the beginning of the year, we have more or less 100,000 displaced people, and at the end of the year, 700,000. So you just can imagine that it is a very huge number of people in some difficult situation because most of the people are in hosting family, but there are a couple of other people in school. And the condition there is not, after months and months, is not very appropriate for humanitarian assistance.
So people who are not familiar with Cabo Delgado as a province, just give us a sense of where you have been deployed and how far is it from Palma, where we hear now of these attacks, but other regions or other areas within the province that have fallen victim to this violence.
In fact, there are a couple of districts that are not very accessible for humanitarian and even for the authorities. But and so that's these places, the district of I'm talking about 5 districts that are very difficult to reach. The other districts are accessible, so that the majority of the displaced people are there. But there are still a lot of difficulties to reach these people in a very difficult district. And now we don't know how many they are. For sure, they don't have access to health. They don't have access to water, even for food. And this is what's happening today and this last day to Palma people is what's happening for a lot of people inside this province since 1 year for the moment.
The people that you have been able to assist, what injuries did they have? Have you had any occasion to deal with those who've been killed, as in helping in the removal of bodies, etc.?
We don't see a lot of injuries, because injuries most of the time they are evacuated by the army. But there we see a lot of usual disease at this period of the year. Malaria is affecting most of it's one of the major diseases that we are dealing with, and the others is related with the fact that they have no access to water and food. For some of them, we are seeing a lot of couple of malnourished children, but it's just the beginning. And the other disease is related to the respiratory disease, because it's normal. So we don't know if it's COVID or other things.
No. So what have you heard from any of your colleagues who may be closer to Palma, or who may be in and around the Pemba region as well? And I'm thinking of places like Makomia as well. Have you heard anything about what is happening there at the moment?
We heard from here, even in Maputo. We have a couple of colleagues that they are asking for support, for help, to be evacuated. This seems to be very chaotic, because the population run away in the bush. Some people, they are still stuck in a different place in Palma. Some of them, they have been evacuated, but they are still. The information that we are receiving from there is very limited, because there is no network. So we are just receiving from colleagues.
And this is exactly what I'm thinking, because I know some of those areas do have either forestation or, as you say, remote areas. So it must be difficult sending medical assistance to some of these people. But what would happen in the interim? Would there be anybody there to help them, to treat them, etc.?
Now the only way for the moment to reach these people is to wait for them in a safe place. So I don't know how long it would take them to walk in the bush, or to come by car, if it's possible. But the only way to reach these people for the moment is to wait for them in a safe place, like in safe place it's not really a safe place, in Gado or Makomia, the first place they will probably reach.
And as you say, Alain Kassa, thank you so much for speaking to us. This has been going on, the situation, for almost 2 years now. Alain Kassa is with Doctors Without Borders.